The council chamber stretched wide enough to hold representatives from 40 different worlds. Today, every seat was filled. The air carried the weight of fear, thick and undeniable. On the massive display screen at the chamber's center, a star system burned. Not with natural fire, but with something worse. The Vole had arrived there 3 days ago. Now nothing remained except debris and silence. Jinwoo stood at his podium, his forearms trembling slightly as he pulled up ancient files on his tablet. He was a historian, not a military strategist, but desperate times had brought him here. His people, the Nelvari, had lived in peace for 6 generations. Now that peace was ending, consumed by an enemy, nobody understood how to fight. Honored council members, Jinwoo began, his translator device converting his clicks and whistles into common language. I have studied the records. 200 years ago, we faced the Vole before. They sent a scout fleet to the outer colonies. 17 worlds fell in 9 days. Every defense we mounted failed completely. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some remembered this history. Most had forgotten, or chosen to forget. Then the humans encountered them. Jinwoo continued. At the colony of New Shanghai, 12 human ships met a Vole fleet of 60 vessels. Military doctrine said the humans should have evacuated. Instead, they attacked. Jinwoo displayed the battle recordings. The council watched as human ships moved in patterns that made no strategic sense. They rammed Vole vessels. They detonated their own reactors at close range. They broadcast confusing signals and used weapons in ways the manufacturers never intended. It was chaos, beautiful and terrible. Within 6 hours, the Vole fleet retreated. It was the only time in recorded history that the Vole had withdrawn. The council at that time asked humanity to share their combat methods. Jinwoo said quietly. We asked them to submit their military innovations for review. We suggested they needed guidance, oversight, to use their abilities responsibly. An older council member, Tailsea of the Vormik clans, spoke up. I remember this. The humans refused our reasonable requests. They became hostile and uncooperative. Jinwoo's eye stalks drooped. With respect, council member, I have read the actual transcripts. Humanity asked to be treated as equals. They offered partnership, not submission. We declined. We told them they were too young, too reckless, too dangerous to be given full council rights. The chamber fell silent. 3 months later, Jinwoo continued. Humanity began the Great Departure. Every human colony, every station, every explorer ship, every single member of their species packed up and left. They went beyond the galactic rim, beyond our sensor range, beyond our reach. They left behind nothing. Every database was erased. Every piece of technology was dismantled. They even took their dead from our cemeteries. They abandoned the galaxy out of spite. Tailsea said dismissively. Good riddance to such prideful creatures. Did they? Jinwoo asked. Or did we drive away the one species that knew how to fight an enemy we cannot defeat? On the screen, another system began broadcasting distress signals. The Vole were advancing, and advancing fast. 3 systems had fallen in the last week. Projections showed them reaching core worlds within 6 months. A younger delegate, Hana of the Kashi Union, stood. She was young for a council member, her blue skin still bright with vitality. Historian Jinwoo, do you believe we can find them? The humans? Jinwoo looked at her directly. I believe we must try. Every weapon we have designed fails against the Vole. Every strategy we employ is countered within hours. The Vole consume technology, learn from it, adapt to it. They cannot be defeated with conventional warfare. We need someone who thinks unconventionally. And if we find them, Hana pressed, why would they help us? We rejected them. We treated them as children when they offered friendship. I do not know if they will help, Jinwoo admitted. But I know that asking is our only chance. Pride has already cost us enough. Perhaps it is time for humility. The vote took 3 hours. In the end, the council authorized an expedition. Hannah volunteered to lead it. She was given the fastest ship in the fleet, the Wandering Star, and a crew of specialists. Their mission was simple on paper, but almost impossible in practice. Find humanity and convince them to save a galaxy that had rejected them. As Hana prepared her ship for departure, Jinwoo came to see her off. Captain, may I offer you something? He handed her a data crystal. This contains every record I could find of human culture. Their music, their stories, their history. If you find them, you will need to understand them. And humans, I learned, valued being understood. Hana accepted the crystal with both hands, a gesture of deep respect among her people. Jinwoo, can I ask you something? Why do you care so much about humanity? They left before you were even born. Jinwoo's translator was silent for a moment as he considered. Because I read their literature. I listened to their music. I studied their philosophy. And I realized something that shames me. We called them primitive, but they asked questions we were afraid to ask. They challenged ideas we were afraid to challenge. They grew in ways we were afraid to grow. We did not reject them because they were lesser. We rejected them because they reminded us of everything we had stopped trying to be. Hannah nodded slowly. Then I will find them, and I will tell them the truth. The truth may not be enough, Jinwoo warned. Perhaps not, Hana agreed. But it is the only thing we have left to offer. The Wandering Star launched 3 hours later, heading toward the Galactic Rim where the last human signals had been detected 2 centuries ago. Behind them, another star system went dark as the Vol continued their relentless advance. The galaxy was running out of time, and hope was a fragile thing, carried by a single ship into the unknown darkness. The Wandering Star had been traveling for 6 weeks, following ghost signals and 200-year-old star charts. Hannah stood on the bridge, watching the stars thin out as they approached the galactic rim. Out here, space felt emptier, lonelier. Captain, we are approaching the coordinates of the last known human outpost, her first officer reported. Donghyun was a careful officer, methodical and precise. He had objected to this mission from the start, calling it a waste of resources when the fleet needed every ship to fight the Vol. But orders were orders, and he followed them. The outpost appeared on their sensors. It was a small station, barely large enough for 100 people. Hannah ordered the ship closer? Life signs? She asked. None, Donghyun replied. The station appears abandoned. No power signatures, no heat, nothing. They docked carefully. Hannah led the away team herself, along with Mireille, their Zima linguist, and Young-Soo, the maintenance chief. Young-Soo was the oldest crew member by far, his scales dulled with age. He had actually met humans when he was young, before the Great Departure. The station's corridors were empty and cold. Their boots echoed on metal floors. Everything was clean, orderly. No signs of panic or emergency. The humans had left methodically, taking everything of value. They were thorough, Mireille observed, scanning an empty computer terminal. Every data core has been removed. Every hard drive wiped clean. Even the backup systems are gone. Young-Soo touched the wall gently, almost reverently. I worked with humans once, on a mining station near the Kilos Nebula. 50 years ago now. His voice was soft with memory. They were strange people, always asking questions. Why do we do it this way? Could we do it better? What if we tried something new? That must have been annoying, Donghyun said. Young-Soo laughed, a wheezing sound. Oh, it was. Exhausting, really. But their questions made us think. Made us better. I remember one human engineer, Name was Bong Su. He completely redesigned our cooling system. Increased efficiency by 40%. When I asked him how he thought of it, he just shrugged and said he wondered what would happen if we reversed the flow. They continued through the station. In what had been the common area, they found something. A single painting on the wall, protected behind a sealed glass frame. It showed Earth, the human homeworld, blue and beautiful against black space. Below the painting, words were etched into the metal wall. We came in hope. We leave in disappointment. The stars are vast. We will find our place among them. Mare photographed everything, her antennae quivering with excitement. Captain, this is significant. They left this deliberately. It is a message, a bitter one, Donghain observed. Perhaps, Hana said quietly. Or simply honest. They searched for 3 more days, but found nothing else. No clues, no directions, no hints about where humanity had gone. Hana was beginning to feel the weight of failure when Young-Soo called her to the engine room. Captain, look at this. He pointed to a section of the station's power relay. This was modified. Recently, I mean. Within the last few years. Someone has been maintaining this station. Hope sparked in Hana's chest. Can you trace the modifications? Young-Soo's fingers worked over the components. The work is human. I recognize the style. And look here, they have connected this relay to the long-range communications array. They have created a listening post. Myra joined them, her eyes wide. They are watching. They have been watching this whole time, waiting to see if anyone came looking. Hana made her decision. She returned to the bridge and ordered the communications officer to broadcast on all frequencies, using every protocol they knew. This is Captain Hana of the Galactic Council ship Wandering Star. We come seeking humanity. We come not to demand or command, but to ask. The Vol have returned. They are destroying our worlds. We need help. We were wrong 200 years ago. We see that now. If you are listening, please respond. The message broadcast into the void. Hours passed. Then days. The crew grew restless. Donghain suggested they return to Council space. Report their failure. Then, on the 7th day, the communications console came alive. The message was simple, text only. Was no voice or video. You left us alone for 200 years. Why disturb that peace now? Hana typed her response personally. Because we are desperate. Because people are dying. Because we were wrong, and we admit it. Minutes passed. Then, wrong about what? We treated you as children when you offered partnership. We tried to control when we should have collaborated. We valued conformity over creativity. We drove you away because you challenged us, and challenges made us uncomfortable. A longer pause this time. Hours. The crew barely slept, waiting. Finally, another message arrived. You have come far to admit fault. The Vol are dangerous. We remember. But we also remember being told we were too reckless, too unpredictable, too dangerous to be trusted with our own decisions. Hana felt her hands shaking as she typed. We were fools. Pride and fear made us reject the very qualities that could have made us all stronger. I cannot undo the past. I can only ask, not as a council representative, but as someone who is watching civilizations die while I stand helpless. Please, the wait was agonizing. Then, you have been honest. We will grant you the same courtesy. Humanity has built a new civilization beyond the rim. We have thrived. We do not need the council, but we remember what it feels like to be dismissed and diminished. We would not wish that feeling on anyone. Coordinates are being transmitted. Come alone, no weapons, no escorts. If this is a trick, you will regret it. If you are sincere, we will talk. Coordinates flooded their navigation system. They pointed to a location 3 weeks deeper into unexplored space. Dong Haiyan looked worried. "Captain, this could be a trap. We should call for backup." Hannah shook her head. "If we arrive with a fleet, we prove we have learned nothing. Set course. Full speed." As the wandering star turned toward the unknown, Young-Soo stood beside Hannah. "I hope they have not changed too much," he said softly. "The humans I knew were good people." "Frustrating, yes, but good. And if they have changed?" Hannah asked. Young-Soo smiled. "Then we will deal with whatever they have become." "What choice do we have?" "None," Hannah thought. They had no choice at all. The galaxy was burning, and humanity was their last hope. The star system appeared on their screens like a revelation. Dozens of orbital platforms surrounded a green and blue world. Space stations dotted the area, some larger than council capitals. Ships moved in organized patterns, thousands of them, sleek and powerful. This was not a struggling colony. This was a thriving civilization. How did we miss this? Dong Haiyan whispered, staring at the displays. This level of development should be visible across half the galaxy. Mireille checked her instruments. They are using some kind of dampening field. It hides their energy signatures. From outside the system, this would look like empty space. A message arrived. "Wandering star, you are cleared for approach to New Terra. Follow the designated flight path exactly. Any deviation will be considered hostile action." Hannah guided her ship carefully along the path. As they descended toward the planet, she saw cities that stretched across continents, covered in green spaces and waterways. The architecture was unlike anything in council space, organic and flowing while still clearly advanced. They landed at a spaceport larger than any Hannah had ever seen. As the airlock opened, she saw a delegation waiting. 3 humans stood at the front, flanked by security personnel in armor that looked both ceremonial and functional. The central figure stepped forward. He was middle-aged, with graying hair and sharp eyes. "I am Jae-Sung, governor of New Terra. Welcome to humanity's new home." His tone was polite but cold, like winter frost. Hannah bowed in the manner of her people. "Governor, I am Captain Hannah. Thank you for seeing us." "Walk with me," Jae-Sung said. He led them through the spaceport into the city beyond. Hannah tried not to stare, but it was difficult. Humans walked alongside alien species she had never seen before, all integrated seamlessly. The technology was clearly advanced, but not ostentatious. Everything seemed designed with purpose and beauty in balance. "You have built something remarkable," Hannah said honestly. "We built what we needed," Jae-Sung replied. "A place where we could grow without being watched, judged, or limited. You see those towers?" He pointed to elegant structures in the distance. "Those are universities. We have 40 of them on this world alone. When the council told us our science needed oversight, we decided to pursue knowledge without asking permission. It has served us well." They entered a government building. Inside, a woman in military uniform waited. She was younger than Jae-Sung, with eyes that missed nothing. "This is Commander Su Bin, head of our defense forces." Jae-Sung introduced. Su-Bin did not offer pleasantries. "I have reviewed the records of your journey here. You were careful, followed instructions, came alone as requested. That shows good faith. However, I want to show you something before we discuss helping you." She activated a holographic display. Images appeared, surveillance footage, and intercepted communications. These are from 60 years ago. Council intelligence ships probing our borders. This one is from 30 years ago, a council spy probe that tried to infiltrate our networks. And this, she highlighted another file, is from 10 years ago. A council special operations team was caught trying to sabotage one of our research stations. Hannah felt cold horror wash over her. "I did not know. I swear, I did not know. Of course you did not, Subin said, her voice hard. The council does not advertise when it breaks its own laws. You claim to respect our choice to leave, but you could not resist trying to control us, even in absence. You wanted to make sure we were not becoming too powerful, too independent, too dangerous. Jae-sung placed a hand on Subin's shoulder. Enough. She is not responsible for the sins of her predecessors. He turned to Hana. But you understand now why we are cautious. The council did not want partners. It wanted subjects who looked familiar enough to feel progressive about including, but different enough to justify controlling. You're right, Hana said quietly. Everything you say is right. I cannot defend the council's actions. I can only tell you that the Vol are real, and they are coming. Millions are dying. I watched a system of 8 billion souls go silent last month. I am not asking you to forgive us. I am asking you to help people who cannot help themselves. A third human approached. She was young, probably in her 20s, with bright eyes full of curiosity. Governor, if I may? At Jae-sung's nod, she turned to Hana. I am Kyung-hee, director of the new Terra Science Institute. Captain, may I show you something? She led them to an observation deck overlooking the city. You see that district there? That is our arts quarter. Those are theaters, galleries, music halls. That district is pure research, no commercial applications required. That one is experimental manufacturing where failure is encouraged. Do you know what all these have in common? They are allowed to exist without justification. Hana guessed that Kyung-hee smiled. Exactly. The council demanded everything have a purpose, a plan, a projection of value. We built a civilization where people can explore, create, and yes, fail, without someone asking if it serves the greater good. And you know what we discovered? Freedom produces innovation. Trust produces loyalty. Respect produces cooperation. You are trying to tell me something, Hana said. I'm trying to tell you that we became better by leaving, Kyung-hee said gently. But that does not mean the galaxy deserves to burn. I believe we should help. Not because you deserve it, but because innocent people do not deserve to die for the council's mistakes. Jae-sung looked at the young scientist with clear affection. Kyung-hee represents our younger generation. Many of them never knew the council. They want to engage with the galaxy. Others, he glanced at Subin, remember the old wounds. This decision affects all of us. What do you need from us? Hana asked. Truth, Jae-sung said simply. Tell us everything about the Vol. Tell us honestly what the council's military situation is. Tell us what you expect from humanity if we agree to help. No politics, no manipulation, just facts. Hana spent the next 6 hours telling them everything. She showed them battle recordings, casualty reports, tactical analyses. She explained how every conventional strategy had failed. She admitted that the council was losing badly and had no plan for victory. When she finished, Ji-sung was quiet for a long moment. You want us to be your soldiers? No, Hana said firmly. I want you to be our partners. Equal partners. If humanity helps, it should be because you choose to, with full voice in how that help is given. No oversight, no supervision, no second-guessing. Subin laughed, but it was bitter. The council will never agree to that. Then the council can burn, Hana said, surprising herself with her vehemence. I did not come here to save the council's pride. I came to save lives. If that means telling the council they have to accept humanity as equals or face extinction, so be it. Jae-sung studied her carefully. You mean that? Every word. He nodded slowly. I will bring this before our Congress. It will take time. Meanwhile, you and your crew are welcome to stay as our guests. See what we have built. Understand who we have become. Then perhaps you can help the council understand what they threw away. As Hana was shown to her quarters that night, Young-Soo found her on a balcony overlooking the city. "They have changed," he said, "but not as much as I feared. Still asking questions. Still challenging assumptions. Still human. Do you think they will help?" Hana asked. "I think they want to," Young-Soo said. "But wanting and doing are different things. They have built something precious here. Asking them to risk it for people who rejected them is asking a great deal." Hana looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Vol were advancing. Time was running out. She could only hope that humanity's better nature would win over their justified anger. The galaxy's survival might depend on it. The council chamber had never felt so tense. Jinwoo stood at the central podium, watching council members argue with an intensity he had never witnessed before. 3 months had passed since Hana's message arrived with humanity's terms. 3 months of debate, politics, and pride while the Vol consumed 6 more systems. "Absolutely unacceptable," Talsi declared, his voice booming across the chamber. "Humanity wants full council membership with veto power? They want us to formally apologize? They want all oversight protocols removed? They are making demands like conquerors, not petitioners asking to rejoin civilization." Jinwoo kept his voice calm. "They are not petitioners. We are the ones who came to them, begging for help. They are offering that help, but only as equals. Is that truly unreasonable? They abandoned us," another council member shouted. "Now they want to dictate terms? We rejected them first," Jinwoo countered. "Have we forgotten that small detail?" Hana stood at a side podium, her official status as humanity's advocate making her both essential and isolated. "Council members, I spent 2 months on New Terra. I saw their civilization. They have surpassed us in many technologies. Their ships are faster, their weapons more creative, their society more dynamic. They do not need us. We need them. Then perhaps we should consider their technology our rightful inheritance," Talsi suggested darkly. Humanity was developed under council protection. What they built with knowledge gained here. Taemin, who had been silent until now, rose slowly. He was human, one of perhaps 1,000 who had chosen to stay behind during the Great Departure. For 200 years, humans like him had lived as a tiny minority in council space, often facing suspicion and discrimination. His voice was quiet but clear. "Council member Talsi, I am living proof of what humanity experienced here. I stayed because this was my home, but I have spent my entire life proving I am not a threat, not too wild, not too unpredictable. I have watched my children face the same prejudice. You speak of inheritance as if humanity owes you something. They owe you nothing. They offered partnership once, freely. You rejected it. Now you want to take by force what you refused to accept as a gift?" The chamber erupted. Half the council seemed ready to authorize military action against humanity. The other half, led by Jinwoo and Hana, argued for acceptance of the terms. The deadlock seemed unbreakable. Then the emergency alert sounded. Every screen in the chamber switched to the same image. The Vol had broken through the defensive line at the Koresh system. 5 heavily defended worlds. 20 military stations. The Council's second fleet was stationed there, 2,000 warships strong. The battle lasted 11 hours. When it ended, the second fleet was gone. All 5 worlds were burning. 17 billion lives lost in less than a day. The chamber fell silent. The reality was undeniable now. The Vol were not just winning. They were annihilating. Talsi looked at the casualty reports, his skin tone shifting to the color of grief. He spoke, and his voice had lost its arrogance. "I knew people there. My cousin's family. 3 generations gone." Jinwoo felt no satisfaction in being proven right. "We are out of time. The Vol will reach the core worlds in 6 weeks. We can argue about pride and protocols while we all die, or we can accept that survival matters more than ego. The vote was called. It was not unanimous. Many abstained rather than vote yes, unable to swallow their pride even facing extinction. But enough voted in favor. The terms were accepted. Hana immediately sent word to New Terra. The response came within hours. Humanity would help. Admiral Minho would arrive with the human fleet in 2 weeks. Those 2 weeks felt like years. The Vol advanced relentlessly. 3 more systems fell. The Council evacuated civilians from border worlds, creating a refugee crisis of unprecedented scale. Military planners worked frantically to prepare defensive positions. Knowing they were likely futile. Then the human fleet arrived. It was smaller than expected. 30 ships where the Council had hoped for thousands. Disappointment rippled through the Council defense forces. How could 30 ships make a difference? Minho's first communication clarified things quickly. Council forces, this is Admiral Minho. We are not here to replace your fleet. We are here to teach you how to fight differently. Every Council ship will be assigned a human tactical advisor. You will follow their guidance exactly, even when it seems wrong. Especially when it seems wrong. The Vol defeat you because you are predictable. We are going to make you unpredictable. The human advisors spread throughout the fleet. Hana watched as a young human officer, Yan Wu, took position on the bridge of the Council flagship. He immediately began changing everything. Shut down your formation protocols, Yan Wu ordered. Randomize your ship positions. Yes, it will look chaotic. That is the point. Now, those plasma cannons you have? They are designed for maximum range and accuracy, right? Good. We are going to use them at close range and wide dispersal. Stop looking at me like I am crazy and do it. Similar scenes played out across the fleet. Human advisors violated every tactical principle the Council had spent millennia developing. They ordered ships to fight alone instead of in wings. They had weapons fired in wasteful patterns. They made the entire fleet operate like drunken children. Then the Vol arrived. The battle began normally. The Vol fleet, 300 strong, advanced in their typical pattern. Adaptive algorithms analyzing Council ship movements and preparing counters. Their first volley destroyed a dozen Council ships. Then the chaos began. Council ships scattered in random directions. Weapons fired at seemingly random intervals. Some ships accelerated when they should have retreated. Others retreated when they should have advanced. The Vol algorithms tried to find patterns and found none. Their adaptation protocols began cycling uselessly, looking for logic in deliberate chaos. The human ships struck like surgeons with scalpels. They exploited every moment of Vol confusion. When a Vol cruiser paused, uncertain which erratically moving target to engage, a human destroyer appeared from its blind spot and crippled its engines. When Vol fighters swarmed toward what looked like a retreating Council frigate, they flew into a plasma field that scattered them like leaves. Yan Wu watched the displays with calm focus. Flagship, cut engines and drift. Yes, drift right into that debris field. Trust me. Now, on my mark, full power reverse and fire everything forward. Mark. The flagship, a massive dreadnought, suddenly burst backward from the debris field, every weapon firing in a forward cone. 3 Vol destroyers that had been moving to intercept were caught completely off guard and destroyed. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Vol fleet had retreated. It was the first time the Council had ever forced a Vol withdrawal. The victory celebration was subdued. Too many ships had been lost. But Minho's message to the Council was clear. This was a probe. The Vol send probes to learn how you fight. Then they adapt and return with overwhelming force. We estimate you have 3 weeks before their main fleet arrives. 3 weeks to master fighting like humans instead of bureaucrats. Taemin, watching the battle recordings, found Hannah afterward. They made the impossible look simple. No, Hannah corrected. They made the illogical look effective. There is a difference. The Vol are intelligence itself, pure adaptation and analysis. Humans fight with creativity and intuition. Things that cannot be predicted because they do not always make sense. Can we learn that in 3 weeks? Taemin asked. Hana looked at the stars, where the Vol main fleet was surely gathering. We have to. Because if we cannot, 3 weeks from now, there will not be a council left to protect. Training began immediately. Human advisors pushed council crews to their limits, forcing them to abandon 2,000 years of military doctrine. Some adapted quickly. Others struggled. But everyone tried, because the alternative was extinction. The clock was ticking. The real battle was coming. The convergence point was a section of space chosen for its strategic value. Multiple jump routes intersected here, making it the perfect location to intercept the Vol before they reached the core worlds. It was also the perfect place to make a final stand. Win here, and the galaxy survived. Lose here, and civilization ended. Tae-men stood in the command center, coordinating the defense. 3 weeks of brutal training had transformed the Council fleet. Ships that once moved in rigid formations now flowed like water. Captains who once followed procedures now made split-second creative decisions. It was not perfect, but it was different. And different was what they needed. Hannah commanded a task force of mixed ships, human and council vessels fighting side by side. Her crew had adapted well to working with their human tactical advisor, though it had taken time. Now they moved as one unit, trusting each other completely. Subin led the human shock troops, Marines trained for the unthinkable task of boarding Vol vessels. No one had ever tried it before. The Vol ships were biological nightmares, grown rather than built, filled with toxic atmospheres and hostile environments. But the humans had studied the recordings, identified weak points, and trained relentlessly. Kyung-hee worked in the research division, coordinating with council scientists on a desperate project. They had been analyzing Vol behavior for weeks, looking for any weakness, any pattern that could be exploited. The Vol are perfect adaptation machines, she explained to Jae-sung over the communication link. They analyze, learn, and counter. Every strategy we use, they eventually defeat. But there is one thing they cannot do. They cannot adapt to true randomness. Their intelligence seeks patterns. Without patterns, they become confused, slower. So we hit them with chaos, Jae-sung said. He was aboard the human flagship with Minho, commanding humanity's portion of the fleet. Maximum creativity, minimum predictability. More than that, Kyung-hee said excitedly. We create dozens of independent battle groups, each fighting completely differently. No central coordination, no shared strategy. The Vol cannot adapt to chaos itself because chaos has no pattern. And there is something else. She paused. I have been studying their behavior in battles. The Vol cannot comprehend sacrifice. Every one of their ships acts to preserve itself. They do not understand the concept of dying to save others. You want us to use that against them, Jae-sung said quietly. I am saying it might be our best weapon, Kyung-hee admitted. I know what I am asking. Before Jae-sung could respond, the alarm sounded. The Vol were arriving. The fleet that emerged from jump space was massive beyond comprehension. Thousands of ships, each one a biological horror of grown armor and living weapons. They moved with terrible purpose, already analyzing the defenders and preparing counters. All ships. Taemin broadcast across the fleet. No predetermined strategy. Every group fights as you see fit. Adapt constantly. Be unpredictable. And remember, We are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for every life in the galaxy. The battle began. The defensive fleet split into dozens of groups, each one acting independently. Hana's group used hit-and-run tactics, striking fast and retreating before the Vol could respond. Another group, led by a Nelvari captain named Salkeo, used their ships as mobile shields, protecting damaged vessels while human destroyers provided covering fire. The Vol tried to analyze the patterns and found only chaos. Every time they adapted to one group's tactics, that group changed strategies completely. It was like fighting fog, impossible to grasp. But the Vol were still winning. They had numbers, and numbers mattered. Slowly, inevitably, the defensive fleet was being whittled down. "We need to board the command ship," Subin announced over the command channel. "If we can disrupt their central coordination, the fleet will become less efficient." "That is suicide," Temin replied. "Probably," Subin agreed. "But it will buy time. Maybe enough time." Hana made a decision. "My task force will provide cover. Get your people close, Commander." The boarding operation was insane. Subin's Marines in sealed armor fired themselves from modified torpedo tubes directly at the Vol command ship. Half were shot down by defensive fire. The survivors crashed into the living hull, cutting their way inside with plasma torches. What they found inside was a nightmare of biological technology, but the humans pushed forward. They fought through corridors of living tissue, destroying nerve clusters and control nodes. The Vol command ship began to shudder, its coordination failing. But Subin saw something in the central chamber that changed everything. The Vol were not individual entities. They were a collective consciousness, but maintaining the consciousness required the lives of thousands of smaller Vol creatures, chained and consumed to power the network. "They are a slave species," Subin broadcast. "The Vol consume their own kind to maintain control. They do not value individual life at all." The revelation spread through the fleet. Every species in the Council understood slavery. Every species hated it. The Vol were not just enemies. They were an abomination. The battle intensified. Ships fought with renewed fury. But the Vol were adapting even to chaos, slowly finding patterns in the randomness. The defense was failing. Then a massive Vol dreadnought, larger than 10 Council ships combined, targeted the civilian evacuation fleet. Millions of refugees, fleeing from conquered worlds, were defenseless. Jae-sung saw it on his displays. The dreadnought's weapon was charging, an energy blast that would vaporize the entire evacuation fleet. He ran calculations. No ship could intercept in time. Except one. "Minho," Jae-sung said quietly. "It has been an honor." Before the Admiral could respond, Jae-sung took manual control of the human flagship. He accelerated directly into the weapon's firing path, positioning his massive ship between the dreadnought and the refugees. The blast hit. The flagship's shields held for 3 seconds, deflecting the worst of the energy away from the evacuation fleet. Then the shields collapsed and the blast tore through the ship's hull. Jae-sung's last act was to transmit a simple message. Worth it. The flagship broke apart, but the evacuation fleet survived. The Vol paused. For the first time in the battle, their advance hesitated. They had just witnessed something their intelligence could not process. A ship sacrificing itself for others, deliberately, without hesitation. In that moment of confusion, Hana's task force struck at the damaged command ship. Yan Wu coordinated a concentrated assault that finally destroyed it. Without central coordination, the Vol fleet began to fragment. The battle turned. Every group in the defensive fleet pressed the advantage. The Vol, suddenly fighting as individuals rather than a collective, were no match for the coordinated chaos of the Council and human forces. 3 hours later, the Vol fleet retreated. Not destroyed, but broken, scattered. Their invasion halted. The victory was bittersweet. Thousands of ships had been lost. Millions of lives sacrificed. Jae-sung's death weighed heavily on everyone, especially the humans who had followed him across the galaxy. In the aftermath, the council held an emergency session. Tae-min spoke for humanity, his voice carrying the weight of grief and pride. Governor Jae-sung died saving people who had once rejected his species. He did it without hesitation, without demanding gratitude, without asking what humanity would gain. He did it because it was right. That is the lesson my people learned in our exile. Strength is not about being the same. It is about making different strengths work together. We are different species with different ways of thinking. That is our greatest advantage, if we are wise enough to use it. The council, humbled and grief-stricken, voted unanimously to ratify a new charter. The old council died that day. In its place rose a true federation of equals, with humanity as full members. Their differences celebrated rather than feared. Jin-woo, recording the moment for history, added his own notes. We almost lost everything because we could not accept that different did not mean wrong. We drove away our greatest allies because they challenged our assumptions. We fought the Vol using Vol logic, adaptation, and analysis, and we failed. Then humanity taught us to fight with creativity, chaos, and sacrifice. They saved us not in spite of being different, but because they were different. Months later, Young-soo stood on New Terra, attending a memorial for Jae-sung. Kyung-hee found him there, tears on her face. He believed in reconnection, she said softly. He hoped the galaxy would prove worthy of humanity's sacrifice. Did we? Young-soo asked. We are trying, Kyung-hee said. That is all he would have asked for. A chance to try. In orbit above, human and council ships flew together on patrol, watching for any signs of Vol return. They would come again eventually. But next time, the galaxy would be ready. Not as separate species fighting alone, but as partners. Different but united. Tae-min looked at the mixed fleet and smiled. His ancestors had left because they were not accepted. Now they had returned, not as the species they had been, but as the people they had become. And the galaxy was better for it. The stars stretched endlessly above, vast and full of mysteries. But for the first time in 2 centuries, humanity and the council faced them together. Different voices, different strengths, one purpose. And that made all the difference.